everybody, welcome inside the Sit Down. Ryan Mayer here alongside Dr. Kevin Gilliland, clinical psychologist and executive director of Innovation 360 Treatment Centers. Doc, how are you today?
Good, man. It's good to be here with you guys.
Good to have you here. So just first off, Innovation 360, treatment center down in Dallas and Austin.
Dallas and Austin.
And you treat a variety of different mental health issues there, from addiction to anxiety to depression. So just how did that process all get started of you getting this treatment center started in a way that is maybe different from other addiction centers or treatment centers?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those funny things. Our healthcare system can get kind of rigid. And so we just had an opportunity to step back and go, okay, what do people actually really need when they get back home or if they can't afford to go away? Because that's a lot of people. I've either got a job, or for women that struggle with addictions, the number one reason that they stop treatment is childcare issues. And so you go, okay, how do we flex with people's lives such that we can deliver the same level of care that they need? And that's what we were able to do, and it's been wonderful. And to kind of take treatment outside of the walls of a therapy session. Because we have trouble taking insight and translating that into behavior. And so we do that with staff. It's called life development. And man, it's just been amazing work. Work with some really great young adults. We see a lot of college students and then a lot of moms and dads. And
that was one of the interesting things in doing some of the research coming into this is emerging adults is a big thing and a big part of a group that you treat at Innovation 360, and that's something that you talked about it on your website, just in terms of not even just moving back home, but also they could be out on their own and still be struggling with that isolation, trying to find that group that they really belong to in life. So just what were you seeing during your time in the practice that really brought you to that area of the field?
Yeah, you know, some things you can see and you go, okay, we need to go there. And then others are like, these keep showing up. What is this? And it's a kind of a past probably 10, 15 years has been a newer phenomenon. I think it's a reflection of a couple of things. One, college is harder to get into and more expensive, which adds pressure for both parties, moms and dads and young adults. And then the world has changed in a really different way in terms of information that's available. We see it when we study across time. We're a more anxious and depressed group of people. And there was a report in the Journal of the American Medical Association last year, women's increase in alcohol use has been shocking. And so you go, all of those tend to go together to mix this sort of really challenging, how do you move forward? It's totally different than when I got out a long time ago, because for some young adults, it's tough to get their footing. And if they've got an over-involved mom and dad, well, they get called helicopter parents, or I love one I just heard, which was curling parents, like the Olympic sport. You know, clean it all away so they
sweeping everything up in front. Got it.
Like, that's hysterical, both as a sport and an analogy. And so if you've done that for your kid in high school and then in college, and then you're like, all right, you're on your own.
Yeah, it's like no safety net. You're just kind of thrown out into the world.
No skills. It's like you took the cast off and my psychological muscles are atrophied. I haven't worked on them. And as we started to see those young adults and parents, you know, parents start helping out financially a little bit just to get your traction. Good idea, but when I'm doing it 3 or 4 years later, it's not working.
You're not necessarily teaching those same life skills.
I'm not helping you transition. And we're not happy about it, and you're not happy about it. How do we get out of this? And it's very hard for parents to know how to get out of it. And so we do see quite a bit of that.
Now, what's the best way that you found in terms of helping these young men and women transition to that adulthood in an area where, you said it, there's a lot of helicoptering, curling parents, whatever you want to call them.
Because, you know, social media is a little bit like reading your kid's diary. I'm like, man, do not read that if you're not willing to talk. Because then you're going to try to hang on to that information and not have it affect you. It's going to affect you. You're going to seem very bizarre to your kid. You're like, why do you keep asking me these weird questions? Well, because I'm trying to get close so that you'll spit the the secret out. Like, they're not going to do that.
Trying to work your way into the conversation through a side door rather than just coming at it straight
and
off.
Your kids are smart. They're like, I know what you're doing. I'm not doing it. So are you going to say? I'm not saying. And you go, okay, eventually the parent's going to say. Because their worry and fear gets overwhelming. So part of what we talk about is we got to work with mom and dad to go, listen, everybody started this with good intentions. it's not working, we got to do something different. No, don't cut them off to zero. Again, they need to build up the psychological social muscles. So let's talk about a plan that steps them down so that you're never supporting them. Because what you don't want to do is go to zero, they flounder for a month or two, now you go back up to supporting them. That's not
it's
the
a roller coaster.
Yeah,
that
you don't want to
just
do that.
Get trapped
you
in.
want to ease down, both financially, psychologically, socially. You want to get them plugged in with their peers.
And you mentioned social media, and it's something I know we were talking about before off camera. It's a great opportunity in many ways, but also on the flip side, we do see kind of a little bit of an increase, especially in younger age kids that are coming up in this era, of anxiety, of depression, of mental health issues. Where do you find that line where it's good, but there's also a lot of bad too with social media?
Here's I hate the answer. I think it's accurate. We don't know for sure research-wise. We're trying to study it, but it's really hard to study. It's a little bit like alcohol or smoking or food. Especially if you were in college and had roommates, or you're finished with college, have roommates, you're like, why can my roommate eat like that? I can't. We have the same workout routine, but if I eat a whole pizza like he eats a whole pizza, I gain weight like that. So we have to start to realize I can't do that.
It's person by person.
Yes, it has a negative effect on me. We don't think like we need to think, not even as adults, as young adults, which is a much more difficult time, of what's the effect this is having on me? You know, that after I look at social media, do I just take literally 15 seconds and go, how long was I doing that? Was that a good use of my time? Was I avoiding doing something else? And two, how do I feel? Do I feel better than when I started looking, or do I feel worse? And we don't look at that. Just like we count calories really well, everybody has a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or a Garmin. I know how many steps I've taken. You're like, okay, well that is kind of good. We have to start thinking that way about
social media.
Consumption of information. I love social media. I love what the internet can provide. We do better when we go out to look for something specific, like how to find a job, or sights to see in a city, or history, or, I mean, there's lots of things that we can find out there that are really amazing. But we have to be thoughtful about what we do. And what we end up doing is looking at social media like we watch TV. We'll watch horrible shows on TV and just till no end. But you're like, no, you've got to be more thoughtful. Change the channel. Get to something else.
Flip to something that is going to make you feel good, as opposed to just scrolling through, comparing yourself to others. Everything, I forget who said it, but it seems like everybody's putting the A side, if you go back to the old the old CDs and cassette tapes, the A side versus the B side of their existence.
Thank you for acting like I wouldn't know.
No. I'm saying it for anybody out there that is, you know, younger than the two of us, that may not know what a cassette tape is and may not have had that experience of a Walkman over time.
We do. We have to start thinking a lot more actively about what are we consuming, and I think we've made a lot of strides in our physical activity and nutrition because we're far more thoughtful about it. But it's staying disciplined to it that's the real challenge.